Abandoned grain elevators dot the prairies, but we met a man who is turning one into his home. If you ever drive on Highway 52 through Baker, Minnesota, you may have seen it. Rose Dunn gives you a look inside.
This is pretty grand.
Scott Doms is an architect and contractor based in Fargo. His business does a lot of remodel projects on older homes, but he's never done anything like this.
It borderlines grand and insanity, I guess.
He bought an abandoned grain elevator in Baker, Minnesota, and is turning it into his home.
There's not a lot of these that people are hunting me down for yet.
Doms found the elevator for sale on Craigslist and bought it for $15,000 in February of 2017. But he stopped counting how much money he's spent on the project.
If I make this about money, then it changes the whole perspective of it. So it's just kind of nice to not know a little bit. I don't really ever want to know how much money I've put into it. I certainly don't want to know how much time I've put into it.
The low cost of the structure was offset by heating costs that ran as high as $2,000 a month in the dead of winter. But Doms has plans to make the building more energy efficient.
Have you ever had a moment where you said, what have I done? I just want to live in a new condo in town.
Yep, it happens about once a week. What was I thinking? I mean, it's just like, and it's very overwhelming and stressful, but there's those times when I'm driving back out here and I can see this thing 6 miles out. And as I get closer, I'm just going, I would have never thought that I would have owned something like this. And it's so cool.
Doms has no farm background, but he loves the history of living in a grain elevator.
One of the original fertilizer bags.
And he has several original artifacts on display.
That's the bin board, so they could tell what product was in each space.
Doms has finished about 2,000 square feet so far, with plans to keep expanding.
If things go right in the next few years, this will all just be an incredible living space.
He plans to turn the adjoining bin into bedrooms for his sons.
We've cut into another bin, and we're working to go north into that, what we call the annex. They're all 2x8 Douglas fir, one on top of another. The 2x8s actually go up to, I think, 20 or 25 feet. There's such a crazy amount of creativity that you have to do this, and open-mindedness.
Doms says he felt welcomed by the small town that seems to be happy to have new life in its old elevator.
And hopefully it can stand the test of time. My grand plan is that I want that as my house up there. Lop that gable end off and put a roof deck up. From up there you can see the ridge of Lake Agassiz. You can just see for miles. It's just beautiful.
In Baker, Minnesota, this is Rose Dunn for Ag Week.
In the future, Dom says he'd like to open a brewery or distillery in part of the space, open it to artists, or rent part of it out for events.